in the conference championship games here at the top of the Action Network Power Hour. Don't forget the latter half of the hour. We got the touchdown show, Nick Giffen and Gilles Gallant. But first, 3 Action Network betting experts are going to try to convince me how I should spend my money today. Sean Koerner, Simon Hunter, Chris Raybon. Later on in the show, Darren Rovell will have the market updates, and the markets are crazy this morning. Lines are moving all over the place. Plus, a little bonus, Director of Research, Evan Abrams, coming in with some stats and some trivia. But first, we are presented by Bet365, the world's favorite sportsbook brand. Sign up with promo code ACTION to get Bet365's exclusive sign-up offer in New Jersey, Colorado, and Ohio. Bet $1 on any game, get $200 in bet credits. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Reminder, everything we're talking about, all the picks, all the data, all the research, available for free in the award-winning Action Network app. New version out, folks. Update it. You can track where you are making your bets in terms of which sportsbook you're making your bets at. Really cool new addition. Sean Koerner, we're starting off with the 49ers at the Eagles.
Yeah, so we have this amazing matchup, and I'm asking you to join me on a Juwan Jennings prop. But I'm going with Juwan Jennings, longest reception under 13.5 yards. He's actually stayed under this number in 11 of 18 games this season, so that's a 61% rate. 2 of those games that he cleared this came during the 3-game stretch where Debo was out. So he's only cleared this number 33% of the time when Debo's in the lineup. Now he faces an Eagles defense that ranks first in DVOA against the pass. Plus, the Eagles have the second highest pressure rate. And Jennings' target rate goes from 15% when Brock Purdy has a clean pocket all the way down to 3%. 3% when Purdy is facing pressure. So there's a lot of things going against Jennings here. I think the Niners will have a run-heavy game plan against the Eagles here. I just can't imagine Purdy taking downfield shots to Jennings when he's lined up outside against Darius Slay or James Bradbury. He's likely going to see his 2 or 3 targets when he's lined up in the slot, underneath passes. So I think even if he does get a couple catches here, they stay under 13.5 yards. So I took this at 14.5. I still love it at 13.5, and I'm projecting to stay under this around 64% of the time. So I love the value we're getting on this prop.
All right, look, you mentioned the key word, which is pressure, right? The Eagles' defensive line, historically great in driving pressure against the quarterback. So, Simon Hunter, this has been a hot topic, hotly debated topic all week. The 49ers, the Eagles, the numbers been bouncing around. What are you going to tell me to do?
Yeah, Chad, it's a week of the pros versus the Joes. It's the public is all over this Eagles team, and I'm joining them. I'm drinking the Kool-Aid. I just think this is a matchup that's really bad for this 49ers team. And I get it. They played well all season. Brock Purdy, it's been incredible what he's done. This is different. We've all talked about it. He's had a lot of opportunities that he's either at home playing against teams that they're clearly better than, or they're on the road playing against way lesser talent on the offensive side. I mean, you can say the Eagles haven't played a team like this 49ers offense, but it's on the same thing with the 49ers. They have not played a team like this Eagles team. So it's pretty simple. The 49ers this season, they're 0-4 when they lose the turnover battle. When they win the turnover battle, they're 15-0. So Brock Purdy, if the Eagles can force him to turn the ball over, this game will be easily won by this Eagles team. They just have more talent. It's all about what Purdy can do. So if all you're betting right now on this 49ers team is that they're a really good team, in the end, you're relying on Purdy. Like, you're going to need him on third downs. You're going to need him in big spots. So to me, we're getting a better team at home against a rookie that we know the history. Rookies in this championship game in the NFL history, they're 0-4. So to me, I usually would be all over this 49ers team. I really want to do it, but just looking at this matchup, I just think the Eagles are a better team across the board. The biggest advantage this team has, the 49ers, is at the linebacker position. The 49ers' biggest weakness is play action. They're ranked 30th in the league against play action. Guess who's going to run a ton of play action? The Eagles. So there's a bunch of things you can do to counter the strength of this 49ers team. I think Sirianni, with this offense, the way it's been humming when Jalen Hurts is playing well, I just don't see it slowing it down against this 49ers team. So I would take a -2.5. I'd take a -3. I just love the Eagles today, Chad.
Well, look, the line has been hovering at 2.5 all week, and you and I have talked about, it's been a hot topic of conversation, Why hasn't this line moved from 2.5 to 3 the entire week? And I know Darren's going to talk about this in the market report, because all of the money, all of the public money has been coming in on the Eagles. We're finally seeing this morning this number tick up to 3. Again, I don't want to take too much of Darren's thunder. I know he likes his airtime, but it's hard to back a rookie quarterback in his 3rd game on the road in the NFC title game in Philadelphia against a juggernaut offense and a historically great pass rush. Oh, Raybon, give me another option.
Yeah, instead of backing either the Eagles or the Niners, why not just not back either of these offenses? Because these are 2 top 10 defenses. I'm going under 45.5. Philadelphia, they've only played 3 top 10 defenses, and they average a whole touchdown less per game and over 100 total yards less per game, and 1 whole yard per play less per game. They're under 24 points a game, just over 310 yards a game. And just over 5 yards a play against top 10 defenses. And this is the best one they faced yet. So they're super pedestrian on offense. Jalen Hurts struggles against cover 3. And Jalen Hurts, the Eagles are one of the worst teams at having a better yard per attempt with play action than without. So even though the Niners have struggled against play action, the Eagles don't usually take advantage of that with increased efficiency. And then on the other side, you got Brock Purdy going on the road, cold weather game, farthest east they've traveled, I believe. And he struggles the most in EPA per play versus cover 4, which the Eagles love to run, and cover 2 man, which that's another coverage that is going to, when you're playing a lot of cover 4, you can disguise it with cover 2 man. And you're probably going to play more of that with Slay and Bradbury just so they could cover, Debo and Ayuk on the inside. So I think both of these defenses match up really well. We saw the Niners last week. Only 19 points against the best defense they faced. And you also have the referee factor. John Hussey, he lets them play both sides of the ball. Compared to the league average, he's called 51% fewer defensive holds, 16% fewer defensive pass interferences. And in a game with both teams capable of getting a ton of pressure and hitting the quarterback, Hussey has called 1 roughing the passer all year. 1. So outdoor games with Hussey refereeing in his career under 56-39. That's 59%, 8-3 this season. You got to go under. I know you love the ref stats. I know you love them.
I do. You're killing me, Raybon. You are freaking killing me, because you're giving me ref stats. You're giving me DVOA. You're giving me all the things that I like when I'm thinking about betting a total. Here's my problem. And this is what happens in the playoffs. You've got 2 games to pay attention to, 2 games to do the research on, 2 games to think about. All I have thought all week, and I have nothing to back this up. Simon and I have talked about this all week. I just keep seeing this game is playing completely against type. And I don't know why, but it happens every single year. There is a game that goes against type. This is the game. This is the game. High scoring. This is the game. The Eagles are going to cover. I don't care about, who's catching how many passes for how many yards and how long it's going to be and what their ADOT is. Guys, we're putting it on the Eagles right now. We're putting on the backs of Jalen Hurts. We're putting on the backs of that defensive line. We're putting on the backs of that offensive line. Give me the Eagles, -2.5, -3. If we're going to go in, we're going all in. Fly, Eagles, fly. The legend of Vince Papale lives. Darren, Evan, welcome to the show, boys. Darren, what do you want to tell us about the markets right now?
First, I want to tell us about you. It's always nice when the boss in the biggest analytical show for the guy who says no gut goes with the gut on the second biggest show of the year. So thanks.
Listen to me. I fully own it. And Simon and I have talked about this the entire week. And I've said this in other places. I feel badly that my gut is what's driving it here, but it's also a season's worth of watching games and not truly buying into. To me, it's really about Brock Purdy, right? And we even saw a little bit of this against the Cowboys when he went up against a really good defense. That was probably the best defense he had faced. We started to see some tendencies. We started to see his performance dip a little bit. And I think the Eagles can match what the Cowboys did. And I'm just not going to bet on a rookie quarterback playing in his 8th game when he's going on the road in the NFC title game. That's really the key.
Half a season of data, right? And in this position, I get you. All right, let's get to the most bet props. Not surprising. Christian McCaffrey to score first touchdown at plus 500. McCaffrey, number 2, to score anytime touchdown, minus 150. And A.J. Brown over 73.5 receiving yards, minus 115. Now, Eagles, minus 2.5. Yes, in some places you could find it at 3. In most places, it is at 2.5. But even at 2.5, depending on where you are, it's at least 70% of bets and 80% of the money on the Eagles. It's one of those things where it's like, is Vegas just goading me here? Are the bookmakers goading me? They obviously have a side. It's not 50-50. They make their bets too, and it seems that's where they're making their bets. Total 45.5, 68% of bets and 70% of the money on the under. Understandably, as you said, 49ers only 19 points last week, and you have some great defenses here. Chad?
All right, well, listen, I think we have Evan is going to offer up a trivia question right now.
All I'll say is this, first of all, everyone's either going to be really right or really wrong. 87% of the handle on the Eagles. Literally everyone I've talked to, it's all Philly. So we'll see how the rookie does. But sticking with the theme, let's talk about Jalen Hurts for a second. So 20-4 straight up as a favorite in his career. Okay, Chad and Darren, all I want you guys to do is, of those 4 losses, give me a quarterback he's lost to when he was the favorite. Give me one of them.
Taylor Heineke.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Raybon is coming in off screen.
No, that wasn't Raybon. That was I just said that.
Listen, I'll tell you right now, I think it's Taylor Heineke.
Yeah, probably Taylor Heineke. So the one thing that was the last quarterback he lost to as a favorite. He's 18-1 straight up as a favorite in his last 19 starts. That is his loss. For the other 3 quarterbacks, it's Daniel Jones, Derek Carr, and Andy Dalton. Good luck getting any of those. So those are his 4 losses. We'll see if Purdy joins the list. I got one more for you before I leave. Kyle Shanahan.
For us or Raybon?
This is for Raybon specifically. Kyle Shanahan, 7-1 against the spread in the playoffs. He is tied for the best win percentage of any coach in playoff history against the spread. He is tied with
Marty
Belichick.
Doug Peterson. Come on. That was last week.
Doug Peterson.
7-1. So with a win today, Shanahan becomes the best ATS coach in playoff history. Let's see.
All right. Well, we appreciate those kind of guys, right? Rovell, we're going to see you. We're going to see all of you later on in the show. Now it's time to talk about the Bengals and the Chiefs, the second game. Another one. Lines are moving like crazy in this game. Koerner, what can you start us off with?
So I'm going with Joe Mixon under 3.5 receptions at minus 135. And as we saw last week, Samaje Perine continues to dominate the passing work out of the backfield. Perine's averaging a 49% routes run rate compared to Mixon just averaging a 31% routes run rate in the playoffs. I think a lot of that has to do with the injuries along the Bengals offensive line. You know, Perine is a much better pass blocker, so he's getting all the third down work, all the 2-minute offense work, and that's when the running back can get those cheap receptions like we saw at the end of the first half last week with Perine's over. And I think also due to Mahomes' injury, the Chiefs offense could play at a slower pace, have a more, run-heavy, conservative game plan. That's what we saw last week after Mahomes got hurt. They had 3 different drives last 6+ minutes. So I think the Bengals might not be able to run as many plays as we'd expect against the Chiefs. So that's just another reason why I think this prop has some sneaky value on the under. I'm projecting it closer to 2.8 receptions, and I would bet this down to about minus 150.
All right. That's one I can get behind. I feel more comfortable with it, especially having seen him just get throttled in blitz coverage as a blocker. So Simon, what do you got?
Chad going with another home favorite. I know what's wrong with me right now, but this is just what we do in the playoffs. We just take what we have, and the value this week, it's been on the Chiefs that we've seen the line just moving despite all the early bets and tickets were coming in so heavy on the Chiefs. I mean, on Cincinnati. We've seen now the Chiefs have come back. The money's come in on them. So I liked him at 1.5. If you can still find it, still like him at -2. we hit 2.5, I think we might start talking Cincy, Chet, because now it's kind of flipping back to being a Cincinnati line. So it's been interesting this week. To me, it's just one of those games where it's going to be so close. If this game does land on 1, the book is going to be slaughtered. They've moved this number all week across a bunch of key numbers. Terrible, terrible, terrible. I mean, someone should be fired. It's truly one of those things. It's the middle dream. We're all hoping this lands on a 1, and a lot of people are going to be cashing big money. So hoping for a close game. The books are praying for not a close game, a blowout. Joe Burrow doesn't get blown out. So if you're scared off of taking the Chiefs, I get you taking Cincinnati, but looking at this matchup, 0-3 Mahomes right now against Burrow. You've heard that all week. We've heard all the names, Burrowhead, all the noise. Everything we've read about Mahomes is he's actually fine. Not fine, but not at least 90%. They're saying he can move around, he can run if he needs to. Mahomes, yes, we want him to be able to run. His move in the pocket is the key. That was what I was worried about. Is he going to step up and move in the pocket like we know Mahomes can? And apparently he can. Like everything they've looked in practice, they said he's been full participant. He's looked completely Mahomes-ish in practice. So to me, I'm not going to overreact to an injury. I'm going to play the number. This number should be 2.5. So if you can still get the 2, if you can still get the 1.5, I think you got to be on the Chiefs side. This is just going to be a close game that I think Mahomes will win at the end. It's just a game I just can't see them losing. Him losing 4 times in a row to Burrow, man, that's I can't even fathom it, but that is a real possibility right now. So it makes sense, all this late money coming in, Chad, on the Chiefs. I think the public, they want to back Mahomes, right? That's the guy they trust. This is his 5th straight AFC Championship game. It's just, this is what he does.
More than once this week, I've heard Chiefs fans, I've heard national experts refer to the Chiefs as being underdogs to short favorites until this line started moving back into the 2 range. I've heard them describe that as disrespectful that the Chiefs were such short favorites or underdogs. For the record, I bet this Bengals +3. I bet this Chiefs +2.5. If you're watching Convince Me, then you got to know you got to be checking these numbers in the middle of the week. You can't be making your bet on Sunday when there's got all this speculation about Patrick Mahomes. All right, Simon's on the Chiefs as a short favorite. Raybon, talk to me.
Yeah, I think this Hayden Hurst line of 3.5 receptions is just totally disrespectful. He's had 4 or more receptions in 10 of 15 games. In his last game against the Chiefs, he actually did get disrespected prior to the game. And he came out, he got 3 targets on just 6 routes, but he got hurt. So I think this is still qualifies as a revenge game here. And the Chiefs are tied for the 5th most schedule adjusted targets per game allowed to the tight end position. So I think this number should be closer to -200. You can still get it around -155. So give me Hurst over 3.5 catches against the Chiefs.
All right, look, this one is a lot. It feels a lot easier for me to make a decision. I do like the Chiefs as short favorites, but I also always feel like you got to get the best of the number. And this line has been bouncing around so much. You've had so many opportunities to get the Chiefs as underdogs, as very short favorites, that if you haven't done it by now, if you want to back the Chiefs, go ahead. But I'm not convinced that that's the best thing to do of the 3 bets, because it's Joe Mixon under 3.5 receptions. And I like Hayden Hurst too, but like now we're talking about pricing, right? And I can get Joe Mixon under 3.5, and the price is just a little bit better than Hayden Hurst and over his reception total. So taking Joe Mixon under 3.5. And by the way, you can see all these bets that I've made, some of which I made already, in the updated Action Network app. Download it for free. It goes even deeper, so you can tag the sportsbook you're making your bet at. Darren, we're going to go back to you and Evan. What do you got to start us off?
Okay, so we have most bet props. Jamar Chase in the same place as Christian McCaffrey, number 1 to score a first touchdown, +750, and an anytime touchdown, -105. Isaiah Pacheco over 49.5 rushing yards, -115. Now, the Bengals are +1.5 at some places. They are now +2. So in the earlier situation, we were talking about the Eagles and finally budging up to 3. This way, it's now going the other way, despite the fact that the majority of the money still is on the Bengals. So at 1.5, we had the Bengals at about 70% of bets and 73% of the money, and now it's going up to +2 in some places. Total is 48.5. The over is getting 67% of the bets and 66% of the money. And reminding you that Convince Me is presented by Bet365, the world's favorite sports book. Sign up with promo code ACTION to get Bet365's exclusive sign-up offer in New Jersey, Colorado, and Ohio. Bet $1 on any game, get $200 in bet credits. What do you got for us, Ev?
All right, so this one's for Simon. I'm sure you haven't heard this before, but Mahomes is 0-3 ATS versus Burrow. Yeah, we've heard that all week. But the question I have, which I haven't heard the answer to, is he's actually 0-3 ATS versus another quarterback as well. Who is that?
Ryan Tannehill.
Nope.
Ooh.
Herbert.
Wow, Simon
Herbert.
came in strong.
I
with
know. I
that
thought that
answer.
he definitely knew it.
I felt like he knew it.
Well, I've won some money on Tennessee against the Chiefs. That's why I was going Tannehill.
Is it Herbert?
Yeah, it's Justin Herbert.
He's 1-4 ATS versus Herbert. Sorry.
Ooh.
All right, then.
Taylor Heineke.
Josh Allen? No, Josh. No, it's
No, not Josh.
Obviously.
I don't know, Ev. You've stumped us.
Yeah.
It is Russell Wilson. He's 0-3.
Oh my God.
So right, Russell.
Wow.
Wilson, of
He's actually
course.
0-2 ATS versus Matt Ryan. So we'll see. But 0-3 versus Russ.
You know, the money moves on this are interesting, Darren. I think the reason the Bengals, I think that's all early money. And like so much of it came in when there was speculation in the first 4 to 5 days of the week about what was going to happen with Mahomes. I would not be surprised if by the end of today, as we get closer to that game, because the line's been moving so much, we get closer to 60-40, if not 55-45.
That's a question I get all the time. When we give out these splits, it's obviously like an aggregation of things. And so many people pounded Bengals -1 in the first 6 hours that, yeah, it was probably 90%. I mean, there was this great idea of incredible value, which lasted 24 hours. And then Patrick Mahomes is seen walking off the press conference and jumping around in practice. So yeah, that is actually a good point, Chad.
I mean, the wildest thing though, like one more. So 32% of tickets for the Chiefs this week. That would be the lowest in Mahomes' career for any start ever.
Wow.
So, I mean, this is we've never seen something like this. Now, again, Chad mentioned it. It's the totality of the number, right? It's not just -2, it's been +2 as well, but 32%, that's a crazy number.
32%. That should give you an indication of maybe which side you want to be on right now. Darren, you put a poll for anytime touchdown as a very thoughtful connection, organic, authentic connection to our touchdown show coming up in a few minutes. What is your poll?
After you forced me to put up that poll, it was very
Yes.
organic. Okay. So did it a little bit different this time because I wanted to give a couple more options. So AFC title game, anytime touchdown, who do you like? And I was trying to get it not to fall in the order of the odds, but it just does. People just do that. Travis Kelce +100. Obviously, people think that's automatic. 45% of the vote. Chase or Mixon at +105, 34% of the vote. Pacheco or Higgins, and I'm doing these separately. It's not at +150, 13% of the vote. And Hayden Hurst at +240, 8% of the vote.
All righty.
Yeah.
Nice to see what the fans have to say. We're going to do a quick whip around. Koerner, Simon, and Raybon, give me your favorite anytime touchdown bets for tonight for the Bengals and the Chiefs. Koerner, you're up first.
Give me T. Higgins +180.
Ooh, T. Higgins +180. Simon.
Chad, just real quick, I'm getting a lot of messages. I'm too confident as an Eagles fan. I don't know if you're getting these same texts. If I went to you and I said, all you need to do is beat Daniel Jones and a 7th round pick to get to a Super Bowl, I think anyone in the world would love their odds of making a Super Bowl. So I am sorry. I'm trying not to be so confident, but come on, people. Give me Joe Burrow.
Fly, Eagles, fly.
Joe Burrow +500.
Joe Burrow
Whoa.
+500. Raybon, bring some sense and sanity to all this.
I can't be the only one watching this show as a fan because a lot of people are watching it too. Like Chad, you just convinced me to bet the Niners. Like the whole show, I've been kind of all right. It's gonna be a close game, and now I'm getting some threes. You have totally convinced me to bet the Niners. But as far as the anytime touchdown, it's gotta be Jamar Chase. He scored in 7 of his past 9.
I'm not going to lie. I've lost all sense and sensibility when it comes to this Eagles game. I'm probably overinvested. It happens sometimes, but listen, there's 2 games. Sometimes you just see the way things are going to go. And it's often been said, I'm a visionary and I've got a vision about this one. And Simon, I don't want you to worry. I don't want any of our fans to worry. Go Eagles. I want to remind everybody to update the Action Network app. If you have it, download it anew. If you haven't, it's brilliant. And now you can tag the sportsbook where you make your bets that you track in the Action Network app. We've got more than 300 million bets tracked in the Action Network app. Also, reminder, Sean Koerner is joining Nick Giffen for Bet What Happens Live with Dr. Nick at halftime of the Bengals and Chiefs game, so you can get an idea of what you want to be betting as you are chasing after you've lost your Eagles bet because you decided to listen to me. All fun and games. Track everything in the award-winning Action Network app. Reminder, download it for free. Coming up next, the Touchdown Show with Nick Giffen and Gilles Gallant for Sean Koerner, Simon Hunter, Chris Raybon, Darren Rovell, Evan Abrams, our fantastic producers. I'm Chad Millman. Take it away, Touchdown Show.
Thank you, Chad, and the whole Convince Me crew, and welcome to the Touchdown Show on the Action Network, presented by Bet365. I'm Gilles Gallant. I'm joined every week with my man, Dr. Nick Giffen. And Nick, it's Conference Championship Sunday, and I'm safe to say that we've got the 4 best teams left, both great matchups. And I mean, based on our experience, it's likely the sharpest touchdown odds we've seen all season.
Yeah, I mean, 4 great teams, like you said, 2 really good matchups. I mean, these games, the point spreads, they're really close. So it definitely has, with all eyes focused on just 2 games. I do think it has made the touchdown market pretty sharp this weekend. Hard to find value, but we were able to find value in our official anytime touchdown picks. And for those picks and any additional picks from either Gilles or myself, make sure you're following us in the Action app.
Yeah, great point, Nick. And also make sure to watch the whole show because we've got an anytime touchdown boosted parlay from Bet365. We're going to reveal that at the end of the show right after our picks. And it's no gimmicks. It's just some boosted odds with some awesome players. And also, all you got to do tonight is look out for the Action Network Twitter account for our contest and reply with who you think will score the first touchdown in 49ers versus Eagles. And you can win $100 with the correct answer. And actually, that's this afternoon. So be sure to look out for that. And the Touchdown Show is presented by Bet365, the world's favorite sportsbook brand. If you sign up with promo code ACTION, you'll get Bet365's exclusive sign-up offer in both New Jersey, Colorado, and now Ohio. Bet $1 on any game, and you get $200. All right, Nick, let's look at the first matchup of the day. And first matchup, we're looking at the NFC Championship game between the 49ers and the Eagles. Eagles sitting at -2.5 point favorites, might be up to -3 at some shops now with an over-under at 45.5. Now, the total is trending downward as we get closer to this game. But I do still like some of the passing game in this matchup. And I'm going to reveal my pick now. And I'm going with the Eagles. I'm going with Devontae Smith to score a touchdown at +190. And Devontae been getting a lot of steady work in this offense. 8 or more targets in 10 straight games with 6 touchdowns in that stretch. And the 49ers defense, we have kind of diced up this defense over the last few weeks of just talking about where their weak points are. And while they're very strong against the run, Nick, I think they can be thrown on. They gave up 16 touchdowns to wide receivers this year. They were also bottom 5 in passing yards allowed to the position. And one of the things that you brought up earlier this week on Green Dot Daily is just about the A.J. Brown long receptions angle and about how the 49ers secondary a little more susceptible to the long pass. They gave up a pass of 25 yards or more in 11 straight games. We even saw CeeDee Lamb last week have a big 46-yard catch. He finished with 10 catches and 117 yards. And A.J. Brown is going to be a really popular pick today for a touchdown scorer. And this isn't me saying that you shouldn't bet him. It's just I expect Hurts to look for Smith early and often. I can't overlook the volume that they've had. So I'm going with Devontae Smith to score a touchdown in this matchup at +190.
Yeah, definitely. I like that, Gilles. I mean, the long pass is where the 49ers have been vulnerable. And we saw CeeDee Lamb last week. You mentioned that 46-yarder right down the middle, deep ball. Didn't get in the end zone there on that, but certainly the long pass is where the 49ers are susceptible. So makes it a little funny that my pick isn't quite in that direction in the Eagles receiving game, but I just found the value too good to pass up. And my pick is Zach Pascal, 14-1 to get into the end zone. Yeah, we're going way down the board here. And I mean, hey, that's where I was finding the value. So Pascal, what I really like about him is he did have some increased usage last week against the New York Giants. He played 24 snaps, which came mostly at the expense of Quez Watkins, who actually played the fewest snaps and had the fewest routes run he's had all year. So, if that trend continues, then obviously I think 14-1 is just too much value on Pascal. What the Eagles are doing here with Pascal is they're relying on his pass blocking. He is an excellent pass blocker, and he may actually be asked to do more of that this week versus a tough San Francisco front seven. Now, last week it was the Giants, and the Giants, they blitz at the highest rate in the NFL. So that's why I think they had Pascal on the field a lot. Well, the Giants, the 49ers, as you say, they don't blitz as much as the Giants, but they still do generate a lot of pressure, 11th most pressure in the NFL. So I do think, and that pressure rate is only 1.4 percentage points behind the New York Giants. So I do think they'll ask him to do more blocking this week as well. But that means he could block and then release for a route or something like that a few times. And actually, that's kind of how he got his touchdown earlier this year. And that touchdown came from the slot. So 42% of his targets have come from the slot, where he has an 87.5% catch rate. And his, like I mentioned, his lone touchdown there is from the slot. And that's great because he's going to be matched up against San Francisco 49ers, Jimmy Ward, who we've talked about several times this year.
Yep.
Statistically has not been one of the best nickelbacks in the NFL. He's been near the bottom, actually, of starting nickelbacks. So he gets a nice matchup there if he's going to be lining up in the slot pretty frequently. And this is one of two players that across the Action Network spectrum of projectors, where we show projection value. So we have, if you're averaging all of our projections, about plus 1250 fair value on Zach Pascal. So that's my first pick. I only put a quarter unit on it because it is pretty far of a long shot. And, it is a little bit forecast based off the fact that we think he's going to continue with that increased playing time over Quez Watkins. So just a quarter unit on Zach Pascal plus 1400.
One of the things that I love too is that you're bringing up how Jimmy Ward and just how he has struggled in this secondary. And the first image I think of is him stumbling as DK Metcalf just runs by him for a touchdown. And that obviously is more of a sting to our heart because we were betting against that. But at the same time, that's kind of one of the things that I immediately think of is like, that is one of the weaker points of this defense that we're hoping that the Eagles could take advantage of.
Yeah.
All right, let's now move over to the AFC. Bengals versus Chiefs. Chiefs, this line has moved all over the place all week. Now Chiefs back up to -1.5. Over under at 48. Actually seeing the total start to trend downward a little bit. But I'm still liking a lot of touchdowns in this game. I like actually more touchdowns in this game than I would probably Niners versus Eagles. And we have kind of tackled this part of the Chiefs defense over the last few weeks, and we're going to take it again, or at least I am. I'm going to be taking Tyler Boyd with the Bengals to score a touchdown at plus 310. And we talked about this when we bet Christian Kirk last week, which we did hit, by the way, shameless plug. But attacking the slot, Nick, is the key to beating the Chiefs defense. In Kansas City, they gave up the second most touchdowns to the slot during the season. As I just mentioned, Christian Kirk scored the first touchdown for the Jaguars in the first quarter, pretty much locking up and making it so that way we knew that we were going to get that. And then Boyd, he lines up exclusively in the slot, just like Kirk. He had 5 touchdowns during the season. And then one of the things too, if you look back at the matchups between these two teams now, we have a pretty decent sample size, at least over the last year, of 3 matchups now. And the Chiefs secondary just been getting gouged. 8 passing touchdowns in those games, 5 to wide receivers. One of those was to Boyd. One of those games had like a 3-touchdown game to Jamar Chase. But what I'm basically getting at is that I think all the Bengals wide receivers are in play for touchdowns. But because of how weak the Chiefs have been against the slot, I like Boyd the most just based on the odds and the matchup. So I'm going to be taking Tyler Boyd to score a touchdown in the AFC title game.
Yeah, definitely. You can attack the Chiefs defense in the slot. So Tyler Boyd makes a lot of sense there. I'm actually going to go to The same side of the ball here, but different position. And I'm going to take Samaje Perine at plus 480 for a touchdown. And I got a full unit on this at plus 480, even though it's approaching our long shot territory. And what I like about Perine is his usage has increased in the playoffs. He is averaging a 49% route run rate in the playoffs. And that's partly because he is the running back that the Cincinnati Bengals are using in the 2-minute offense. So, you know, that's just extra workload there. And if Cincinnati is trailing late, which they could be as an underdog here at this point in time, then Perine would probably be getting a lot of that work as well. The matchup is great. Kansas City is terrible versus pass catching running backs. They actually are the 4th worst in defensive pass DVOA to running backs. They give up the 3rd most in terms of passing volume to the running back position, and they allow the 3rd most total yardage to the running backs in the passing game. So definitely a great matchup here. You can attack, you know, through the slot, like I said, but you can also attack Kansas City by passing to the running backs as well. They've also given up 4 passing touchdowns to running backs in the regular season, which, you know, if we were to say 4 out of 17 and then translate that to a percentage, and then you can convert that to an odds, like a betting odds, that would be plus 325 as like a long-term fair odds if that 4 out of 17 touchdown rate continued throughout the season. And we're getting plus 480. You have to think Samaje Perine, Cincinnati Bengals, being able to move the ball as well as they do compared to some of those offenses the Chiefs have faced this year, probably should be even a little bit better. So I just really like this plus 480 price tag. In fact, there is a pretty big price discrepancy out there on Samaje Perine. He is as low as plus 275 at some books. So just a big odds discrepancy at plus 480. And again, showing projection value across the board on Perine. So Samaje Perine is my pick for this Kansas City versus Cincinnati game.
Do you know what this reminds me of, Nick? This reminds me of the cap when we talked about it with Chase Edmonds. Do you remember when we were looking at that for the Broncos? And while he didn't score, but you saw his odds drop as we got closer to kickoff. We saw him getting targets and rushing attempts. And that's what I'm kind of wondering. And the Bengals obviously is a much more efficient offense than what the Broncos were putting on the field. But that is one of the reasons why I love this pick, because everybody's going to be gravitating to Mixon. Everybody's going to be looking at, you know, what are the top dogs like a Jamar Chase, and be able to get somebody who is amazing at pass blocking, especially if they're in the second half where they could potentially be trailing. I love this pick. So Samaje Perine plus 480, solid value again. I have one more pick for this game, Nick. I can't quit this guy. He hit for us in the wild card round. I'm doing it. I'm taking Joe Burrow at plus 500. I'm putting a full unit on this guy to score against the Chiefs. And you know, I almost feel like saying that him being the new Ryan Tannehill is insulting to Joe Burrow, because he's way better than Ryan Tannehill as far as an actual quarterback is concerned. So maybe we could almost say like a rich man's Ryan Tannehill, or a Ryan Tannehill who can throw, you know, and I think that's probably what we have to give him a little more respect. And as I mentioned, Burrow scored for me and us on the show in the wild card round. And even last week against Buffalo with not a lot of good footing, rushing for 31 yards on 6 carries. And during the season, you know, he had 21 red zone carries for a quarterback, which is pretty impressive. He scored a goal line touchdown on the Chiefs in week 13. He was actually the first touchdown scorer of the game. And the Chiefs, one of the things that I found was very interesting is that obviously they're leading in a lot of games. So a lot of opposition will just kind of give up the run game against them, because they only gave up 10 rushing touchdowns this year, but they were also bottom 5 in rushing yards allowed to quarterbacks. And of those 10 rushing touchdowns, 4 of them were to quarterbacks. So technically 40% of all touchdowns scored against them were from the quarterback position. And so if the Bengals get within the 5-yard line, I'm thinking we could see a Perine touchdown or a Joe Burrow touchdown. I just love my chances for this. So even though it's only a smidge, just a little bit more than Perine, it's my favorite bet of the day of Joe Burrow plus 500 to score a touchdown. So give me Joe Burrow, and hopefully we get Samaje Perine as well in this game.
Yeah, I like it. And you were mentioning that wild card round there for Joe Burrow. Just remember, that was that day we went 5 for 5 or 6 for 6 or whatever it was. That was a good day.
Well, and not only that, the gambling gods blessed me on that one, because Hayden Hurst probably should have had that touchdown, and then he gets ruled down at the 1, and then we get the sneak, and then we're laughing. So hopefully we can get some better luck this way as well for the conference championships. So those are the picks. I've got 3 picks. Nick has 2. Let's now move over to the anytime touchdown boosted parlay from Bet365. And the 2 players that we have for this boosted parlay today are Jalen Hurts and Ja'Marr Chase. So these 2, if you were to parlay them before the boost, would be at plus 371. Now Bet365 does us a solid, boosts it up to plus 450, which is amazing value here. And so we'll give you just a little bit of background here, just about Hurts and Chase if you've been living under a rock and you're not sure who these guys are. Jalen Hurts, 14 rushing touchdowns this year. He had 1 versus the Giants last week. One of the most impressive things about this player, 20 carries inside the 5-yard line. That's running back numbers. He had, and the Niners run defense strong. When they faced a mobile quarterback like Marcus Mariota earlier this year, 6 rushes for 50 yards and a touchdown, because the Niners, they only gave up 2 rushing touchdowns to quarterbacks all year, and that was to Matthew Stafford and Marcus Mariota. And so they just haven't really faced a lot of dual threat quarterbacks like what Jalen could do. And for what it's worth, I mean, the Eagles, they hosted the Niners in 2021 in week 2, and Hurts rushed 10 times for 82 yards and a touchdown. And as for Ja'Marr Chase, rather, he had 14 catches, 140 yards, and 2 touchdowns so far in the playoffs. He's got 4 red zone targets through those games. Joe Burrow just forcing it to him, which we love. He had 9 touchdowns during the regular season. And then, of course, the Chiefs, it's not like their secondary is really, a cutthroat or anything. 20 touchdowns allowed to wide receivers this year, which is 30th in the NFL.
Yeah, I think this is a great set of picks here. Obviously, we got 2 studs, and I do think Jalen Hurts is super interesting. I also kind of like him in the first touchdown market. I think the Eagles, if they're going to scheme anything up, probably be for him in the first touchdown market. But to get back to the boost here, our projected fair odds on this boosted parlay, which is boosted to plus 450 now. We're projecting fair odds at plus 370, which was 1 cent of value at plus 371 in the pre-boost number. So now the post-boost number at plus 450 is incredible value. So really nice lengthy boost here from Bet365. So I like it. I'm going to be on it.
Yeah, so we got Hurts and we got Ja'Marr Chase. It was plus 371. Now it's boosted up to plus 450 from Bet365. And the touchdown show is presented by Bet365, the world's favorite sportsbook brand. If you sign up with promo code ACTION, you'll get Bet365's exclusive sign-up offer in New Jersey, Colorado, and now Ohio. Bet $1 on any game and you get $200. All right, Nick. That's all for today. 3 picks from me, 2 picks from you. We've got a Bet365 touchdown boost. So we're going to see you all again in 2 weeks for a special Super Bowl 57 edition of the Action Network Power Hour. Now, if you misconvinced me from today, you can just rewatch the show, or you can download the Action Network app, get all of our picks in one place. You can check out all of our conference championship touchdown bets and props in the Action app. Friendly reminder to follow me on Twitter at GDog5000. Make sure to follow Nick as well at RotoDoc. And I want to thank everybody for watching the Touchdown Show presented by Bet365. Bon chance.